the music.
We got the countdown over on StreamYard. Yeah, hold on a minute. We're gonna have to get through the countdown over there. Guys, we'll get these little tweaks and stuff fixed as we continue to do this, but we got a 30-second countdown that we have to do. There you go.
Come on.
In the shadows of the Capitol, they're scheming in the night, selling out our freedoms for a pocket full of spite. From the border to the heartland, the wolves are at the door, twisting truth and tearing down what our fathers fought before. But I'm a patriot sword, standing tall and true, with a Bible in my hand and old glory flying blue. Ain't apologizing for loving this land. We'll fight the forces of evil with fire in our stand. God bless the USA. We'll never back down. Patriots for freedom, wearing that crown.
Dude, this is so cool, man. I got us up on Rumble and
Yeah, but we just got our live restricted because it was unoriginal or copyrighted content. I appealed it.
What was
That? Apparently that
was
video.
not copyrighted. That's our
video.
song.
Can you folks over on
Did
YouTube-
we did we copyright it?
No, it's ours. It's original.
Yeah, but did we copyright it?
Oh, I don't know.
No, we should though.
All right,
That
folks.
is crazy, TikTok.
Hey, I need to know over on YouTube, over on Rumble, and on X. Can you hear us?
Is anybody else
Whatever.
in the studio, like in the green room?
Over on the other platforms?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of folks that are asking to join. Jonathan Stevenson, Brian F. We're not ready for you yet, folks.
No, not there on StreamYard.
Oh no, I'm
Yeah,
watching.
yeah,
that.
he can hear. I can hear. So yeah, so Guardian just said over on I think YouTube that if TikTok has a problem, they can talk to him because he's the creator of that song.
Right.
Like our back office production team made that song TikTok.
Yep.
That's not a copyrighted song. That's our song. It's ours. Well, it's Guardian.
I'm
song.
gonna
He just
forget
lets
that
us
this
use it.
camera is on, and you people on YouTube and Rumble and X are probably gonna get a show because when I'm debating, I get into it and I'm gonna completely forget about the camera.
Well, you should probably turn your camera on then.
My camera is on the other things. I don't want to turn it on here because that's too much. Like this is too much. I said I feel like I'm
When do
running
you-
like a radio show.
We are live right now, folks, on YouTube, on Rumble, on X, and you guys are talking about, I don't know what you're talking about. Let's go.
I don't know, but all right. We're here to debate people. Where are they? That's what I thought we were here to do.
No,
but-
we're taking a victory lap
our
first.
friend is running late, by the way.
Oh,
I just
oh.
got a text.
Yeah. Just a little bit of an announcement. We may have a special guest join us over on the StreamYard side. So those of you guys who are watching over on StreamYard or who are watching on Rumble or on YouTube or any of the other places, Data Republican is likely going to be jumping in and joining us tonight. She's just had an incredible week. Her and SK have been absolutely exposing one of the key nodes in the group of radical NGOs who have been operating a color revolution here in the United States, a group by the name of Braver Angels.
All right, hold on. Everybody is echoing, apparently. And it's probably because of me. So I'm going to mute myself here real quick.
Mute yourself on StreamYard.
Somebody remind me how to turn the volume down on these headphones because it could be the headphones too.
I hear you just fine.
Oh, wait, hold on. People on YouTube said that we're all echoing.
Well, that's weird.
Or maybe it was Rumble. No, it was Rumble. Rumble.
Here. No, let's do this. Take myself and SK down. How about now? How about now? Is there an echo now? Okay. All right. Today has been probably one of the most important days in the journey of Donald Trump's agenda that started when he came down the golden elevator or golden escalator after announcing his candidacy. It was a culmination of years and years and years worth of planning. And it all just kind of came to a head today. But it wasn't just the strategy that's been playing out that came to head. It's almost like it all just kind of synced together in a way that it's, I don't know, maybe there's some providence involved perhaps, but not only did we have 7 weeks of absolute propaganda and slop completely destroyed today when Donald Trump came out and announced that we effectively have a deal with the Iranian regime to open the Straits of Hormuz, get traffic flowing again. Trump also announced that they are going to be collecting all of the dust that's out in the middle of Iran from the B-2 bombers. There's a deal. And then on top of that, probably for the first time in any of our lives, Israel and Lebanon are now in agreement. I mean, did anybody expect that to happen? Because what the black pill crowd was trying to convince us of for so long is that we were getting into another forever war, that Donald Trump had betrayed his agenda, betrayed the MAGA base, and was taking us into a forever war because he's wholly owned by Israel. And yet, after 7 weeks of nothing but slop and propaganda, that all came crashing down today. They should have had a first indication a week and a half ago when the temporary ceasefire was announced. They should have known that all of their slop was getting ready to end, but today it ended in ways that I don't think they were prepared for. And then on top of that, this has to be a God thing. This is the only way that you could explain this. On top of that, they had the Tyler Robinson evidentiary hearing in Utah today. And after 7 months of listening to Candace Owens and her slop merchants lie to the American people on and on and on and on and on again, come to find out that the prosecution actually has a very, very tight case against Tyler Robinson. So Candace Owens and her slop merchants have been working overtime to try to convince you that this guy did not do it, that there is some mythical they out there who did it. And that mythical they has changed from the Israelis to Egyptian planes to French legionnaires to a bunch of people with beehives to maroon shirted young men. I mean, everybody and anybody has ultimately been accused. They accused Erica Kirk. They accused the Turning Point staff. They accused Turning Point of a cover-up. They accused pastors. They accused churches. They've accused everybody. But the only people they didn't want you to actually pay attention to is the guy that the prosecution now has 12 terabytes worth of evidence and they're getting ready to present a case to. And that was explained in the evidentiary hearing today. So you have Candace Owens taking to her X account, recording a 5.5-minute video today, and what can only be described as one of the most epic crash outs I've ever seen. She has no idea how to handle the fact that every lie that she's just told the American people for 7 months just came crashing down today. Every one of them. And every lie that the slot merchants have been saying about our engagement in Iran came crashing down today. So I think that above all else, this panel and really all of you guys deserve a victory lap. What do you think, SK? Nam, do you think that we should take a victory
I
lap? Do you
think
think that
Nom
we
should check the
take
green room.
Well, oh yeah, she's there. Put her up.
And I'm sorry I'm like so in your face. I'm afraid that this camera on the other side is going to come on any second, and I don't know where to put this stuff, and I don't want to move it. So you're just all up in my grill. You like me asking, can you type that phonetically?
Yeah.
I'm a dumbass. It's okay.
They're more than besties. They are literally breaking the NGO back right now, right in front of the world. Yep, that's right. So Daniel Armstrong over on looks like YouTube is really confused and has no idea what's going on. So maybe since we did this at the beginning, we should do it again. So for those of you guys who don't know, the three of us actually started our content creation journey. Well, Nam and I started ours on Facebook years and years and years ago. Actually, it went all the way back to MySpace, but Facebook has really kind of cut our teeth in engaging in online content creation through the written form. Nam's been totally permanently banned from Facebook. They won't even allow him to create a fake account to show back up again. They literally are tracking his every movement over on Facebook, so he's not allowed back there anymore. But then TikTok came around and opened up a platform, and that's how the three of us got started again in this space. So we have been talking for weeks about how do we take our podcast and bring it over to TikTok, and it's not as easy as you would think. But more importantly, the thing that made SK, I think, world famous before she became like one of the most important people on the planet. And I'm not joking. I know SK. You stop it. I'm not just being facetious here. Like the work that SK and Lisa and Data Republican are doing to expose the most evil, corrupt. What?
You can't see Patriot.
Oh, I see. No, I see. Yeah,
it's
I see
urban.
it on StreamYard. The cat. I see the cat. Hi. But the work that these three are doing is just like, it's going to change the world. There's no doubt about it. But SK cut her teeth in the ranks of TikTok debate studios. This is where her and I met. I found her reading court documents for hours on end, over and over and over again, and then just watched her absolutely destroy everybody that wanted to come up and try to tell her that she doesn't know what she's talking about. So she wants to get back into the debate stage, but she wants to do it in a slightly different way, because a good debate session takes like hours and hours to do, and none of us have time for that anymore. So we decided to do this. We're going to take our after-hours show once in a while. We're going to turn it into an open forum debate. We'll bring some of the people who are our P1s, P0s on the podcast, let them come up and hang out with us. Maybe we'll find some lunatics that want to try to debate SK, although I don't know why anybody would ever want to try to debate her, because she will literally rock your world. But if they want to try, they can try. So that's what we're doing. Yeah, I saw you earlier, SK. I saw you and somebody, I think Marine Mom's panel, having some fun with people.
Oh, the other day, I've got too much going on. This is a lot for me. There's the StreamYard back here. There's this phone. I got this phone.
You're going to have to engage in the conversation.
I know, but yeah.
Where is SK on TikTok?
Where are the liberal Looney Tunes? Where's the opposition?
I don't blame them.
There's no. Oh yeah.
It's still early. We'll give them some time. We'll let them come up. I've read it.
Oh, hold on. Data Republican has something she wants to say.
Ooh, cool.
She said, I just absolutely adored how you tried to trap Elizabeth Dahl and she melted down instead of answering questions. Kind of my specialty. I like
was
to lead
amazing.
them exactly where I want them to go. We did it with that other guy too, that John Wood guy. I posted a screenshot of his new pluralist association, and he immediately reposted it and said, this guy caught me in an affiliation. And she immediately jumped in and said, oh, thanks for confirming your affiliation with the new pluralists.
That was incredible to watch. And it didn't take long at all for one of the officials of Braver Angels, who's supposed to be this organization that is going to usher in a new era of dignified conversations and bridge building and figuring out how to take the extreme wings of both political parties and bring them in the middle. It didn't take her long at all for the mask to come off and for her to revert right back into the same type of lame, old, tired, radical left-wing propagandic rhetoric that we always see from these people. It took like 2 comments from her to do that. And it's like what we've been saying for the longest time, or at least my perspective of these people that want to bring in and usher in this concept of dignified conversations, is they're not actually interested in a dignified conversation. I'd love, maybe Data Republican can chime in, because I know she has a much deeper understanding of this than I do. What they're really interested in doing is redefining what you think is dignified conversations. So if you think about it from a spectrum, they want to take part of that spectrum that they call dignified, which you and I would inherently think it's the middle, and then they want to shift it as far left as they can and say that this is dignified, and anything that doesn't line up with our version of dignified, which is really just radical socialism and communism, then that is no longer accepted in public discourse. And it didn't take her long at all to prove that yesterday. Or was that today? It didn't take her long at all. If you guys in the chat can,
are you asking
all right,
like the other streams, or are you asking TikTok?
maybe, yeah, we'll bring him up. I can bring
Let's
him
find
up.
out if any of them are liberals.
Well, we can ask when they get up here. Nam, you may need to unmute yourself, Nam, on StreamYard, because you're muted. All right, we're gonna bring up MAGA Jake. What's up, Jake? The Clip Master. How are you?
What's up,
we're gonna
everybody?
bring up Jonathan Stevenson, who's been waiting for quite a while to come up, and then we're gonna bring up who's this next? The Last Templar.
Ooh.
What's up, y'all? What's going on? Are any of you guys raving mad liberals? Is that a toilet? Am I listening to a toilet flush?
No, I'm so sorry. I didn't know you brought me up. I was washing dishes.
Oh, gotcha. How are you, man?
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to request up, but I'm happy to be up here. We can talk.
Well, yeah. What's going on?
So I guess I picked the one thing you guys weren't going to talk about tonight. I just thought
we can talk about anything.
I just thought it was interesting that the Pope didn't expect his old posts to come back and bite him. I guess maybe when he got elected to Pope, he thought all that got deleted. So,
well, I think the Pope probably assumed that he was going to be protected by the globalist system that's been protecting the Pope for a very, very long time. And what the Pope doesn't seem to understand is that the entire objective of Donald Trump, since he took office again in 2024, is to break the back of the system that's been protecting the Pope. And I don't think the Pope realizes that he doesn't have the protection that he used to have to be able to come out and reinterpret scripture and insert himself into the public discourse the way that he tried to do this time, playing politics, meeting with Barack Obama's surrogates, injecting himself into immigration agenda that we voted overwhelmingly for, I think he thought he was going to be protected. And in reality, he's not, because there's a whole bunch of people out here like me that know my Bible. And when I hear the Pope say things that are not biblical, I'm going to expose that. Sorry, Pope.
This whole idea that the truth can't be questioned is really, it doesn't back up with scripture. If you look at, the one famously called Doubting Thomas, the
And
Lord
not only
gave him
does it-
exactly what he wanted. He showed him himself, and he didn't mind showing himself, and didn't ridicule Thomas at all. He said, touch my hands, touch my side, see that I'm real. So I have a problem with, you can't question people of authority, that they think they speak some nonsense and you can't call them out, no matter if that's the Pope or not.
Yeah, well, go ahead. It's spiritual abuse. I don't know how else to explain it, because
I couldn't get
every
over
single
that.
human being on. Go ahead, Eska.
I just couldn't get over that text that priest posted to JD Vance saying, I know your transgressions, or whatever it was he said, because to me it seemed like a threat. Like, don't Catholics have to confess?
Yeah, I mean, it sounded to me like he was throwing out a passive aggressive threat of, maybe it's time to use what we know about you, which is spiritual abuse.
Yeah, it's gatekeeping. It's Pharisaic nonsense, in my opinion.
It's spiritual abuse. And then when they use it, it's not just the Pope and the Vatican that does this. This is a big problem in just about every church these days, where you have the leadership of these churches who stand up and they basically elevate themselves to a position where they become the moral authority of their church, instead of God being the moral authority, or instead of Jesus Christ being the moral authority. And the way they position that is to say, well, if you question me, then you're questioning my anointing. You're questioning the anointing that God placed on me to lead this church. It is a way to shame you into silence, because they want you to think that they are infallible, when in fact the Bible is very clear that every single man, human being on earth is fallible, every one of us. And as a matter of fact, the entire Bible was written to demonstrate the fallibility of mankind. The whole purpose of the Old Testament is to show you that no single human being could ever live up to the requirements that would be necessary in order for someone to earn their own salvation. I think there's 526 separate laws that have to be maintained based on the laws that were developed in the Old Testament, including the 10 commandments. And not one single human being on planet Earth has ever been able to attain those. The whole purpose of the law was just to show you that you can't do it, and you're going to need a savior to come do it for you.
Well done, sir. Yeah, I completely agree. But the thing going after the vice president, like he did, saying, hey, I know what you've been doing. Like, I know what you did last summer, and they're going to come get him.
Yep.
It's just disgusting, the fact that, and then all the cardinals say, well, you can't say anything because he's the Pope. I'm like, that's, if I can't say anything, we have a problem. That's what it
It's-
should be.
yep.
Because the truth doesn't mind. If you're telling the truth, then it doesn't mind a little scrutiny.
Yep.
In fact, it is proven through the scrutiny, the truth is.
Yep. That's right.
Hey,
And-
can you put that X tweet on the screen? I don't know if Nam has it.
Yeah,
You can do
I
it as a
put it in the
background.
Dropbox. There's one in the Dropbox. I think it's called spiritual abuse. If you want to throw that up on the screen, Nam. Wait, where did Nam go? Did
I don't know.
you change something? You need to switch them.
Look, guys, the Friday
hold on.
night shit show came all the way to TikTok.
There we go. You're back. No, it's a photo. It's a screenshot of, I think it's called spiritual abuse. It's a screenshot of a post from a bishop, I think, or a cardinal. I think this one just came out today. It's in the Dropbox. Pull that up. I'm going to pull it up here while I have it as well. Nope. Nope.
There's like a warning screen on Shania. Oh,
What the heck?
It seems like that the modern church has a problem with this idea, like you said, that you can't challenge the speaker, because if you challenge the speaker, you're challenging God. Like they speak for God, like they've cornered the market on the Holy Spirit, no matter who that is. And unfortunately, with most of our preachers, I can't speak for anybody y'all know, but most of our preachers are nothing but motivational speakers at this point. They won't touch sin. They won't touch any kind of like character development whatsoever. And I think that's just how we got here, because I think they're just afraid to lose their numbers. And we should be concerned about spiritual unity and getting people to heaven. And we're just no longer there. And that's my issue with the Pope.
Well, it's
I mean, it's Chinese. It's like Timu.
yeah. Cardinal Mueller.
Want to do this next one? Can I borrow some GPUs and stuff to do this? Nam's lips are moving, but they can't hear me.
You might not be paying attention, or it might not be
No,
coming
they-
through because
They can't
people-
hear you on YouTube for some reason.
Yeah.
So here's
Um,
Cardinal Mueller, who says it must be clearly stated that no one has the right to criticize the Pope when he faithfully follows the mission he received from Christ to bear witness to the gospel of peace. Well, here's my question, Cardinal Mueller. What about when the Pope is not faithfully following the mission and is instead actively inserting himself into politics on the side of a Democrat Party that is riddled with people who do the most unbiblical things that you can possibly think of? How about the moral authority of challenging a Pope who is spending his time going into radical Islamic mosques in places like Algeria and rubbing elbows in a country that actually has laws on the books that makes it a crime to, quote unquote, disrupt the faith of a Muslim? How about challenging a Pope, Cardinal Mueller, who should be spending his time in Africa or Nigeria, or maybe advocating on behalf of the tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of Iranian citizens that have died at the hands of the Iranian regime over the last 50 years? How about the moral authority to be able to challenge that? Because look, if you want to make the case that nobody's allowed to question the Pope when he's acting in the anointing that was put on him, I think you're going to have to prove that he's actually acting in that anointing and not instead doing things outside of that anointing, which is what it looks like to people who have discernment like me.
And not choosing winners or losers by meeting people like David Axelrod behind the scenes and then coming after
That's
a
exactly
president.
right. Yeah, that's purely political. Purely. How about the authority of? Sorry, SK, you're going to say something. I don't mean to talk over you.
I was
Keep
just
on.
gonna say you're gonna have to put up a background to taunt the opposition, or else none of them are gonna come in here or come up here.
Can you just put up a background that says like Trump wins again?
Well, you gotta put something about request a box, debate me, whatever. Prove me wrong.
That makes sense.
No, I would put a topic or something like that and put like prove me wrong. Like Trump is
Guarding the
winning.
grid's
prove
already
me
on it.
wrong.
I'm sorry. I know you guys said you were
Request
looking
a
for.
box.
And Anne Marie over on YouTube says she wishes Nam had closed captioning. Yeah, all he's doing is. It's
Do you
weird.
guys-
Oh yeah, you can't. 'Cause probably it won't work because if
We may have to
nobody can
shut
hear
it down
me,
and open it
they're not
back
gonna
up
be able
again.
to
It might be
close
one of those complicated fixes of turn it off and turn it back on. Well, give us an echo. I think people would rather you have an echo than not hear you at all.
Right. Do you,
I told Dada Republican that you were gonna have to put up a background before I told you guys. I told her that you were gonna have to put up a background or else we weren't gonna be able to get anyone in here to debate. And she said, well, not debating you would be the first sign of intelligent life they've shown.
do you think this tiff with the Pope hurts Trump or hurts the GOP?
No, I don't. I don't think so at all. I think that I think Donald Trump not standing up for his agenda would hurt his agenda more than anything else.
Listen,
Because-
there's another piece of this, right? So we are miles away in terms of news cycles away from the midterm elections. Okay. President Trump, what happened this week, what happened in the back end of this week, and folks, I'm sorry if there's an echo. I apologize over on YouTube. It just is what it is. I don't know how to fix it right now. What happened this week with the Straits of Hormuz being opened back up and Iran saying, I'm sorry, please don't unalive us. We will never, ever shut the Straits of Hormuz down, which was the entire point of what President Trump was doing there in the first place. That was the entire point. The Straits of Hormuz has been used as a lever to control the world through oil prices by the globalists that all of these people said that they wanted taken down, and Trump is doing it, and they're not. I don't know. We'll get to the reason why. I have theories, but what happened this week, Trump is, I don't know, a couple of weeks away from, I think, implementing the American system being very difficult to turn back if we win the midterms. The only reason that we will lose right now is if the American people have too long of a memory, or if for some reason he can't get the economy firing on all cylinders. I think it's going to be firing on all cylinders in a matter of months. And when it is, people will completely forgotten what happened in Iran. They won't even remember the debate or the issues with the Pope. It will be gone. The news cycles. Do you guys remember what happened in the news 2 weeks ago? I have no idea, and we do this all the time. The news cycles are too short.
I do. I remember what happened 2 weeks ago. A bunch of black pill wannabe America First people tried to convince you that Donald Trump set a peace or ceasefire and was taco. Remember that? Remember everyone was running around with the taco post saying that he didn't have the courage to follow through with his threats because he's actually seeking peace. I remember what happened. But Nam, to your point, the economy is already firing on all cylinders.
Right.
And it was a very well calculated decision on Donald Trump's part. I think the timing of it was also calculated, meaning because the economy is just now starting to really fire on all cylinders, a slight disruption by adding a little bit of temporary inflation from the cost of oil to the system will not slow things down at all. At all. As a matter of fact, inflation is still under 3%. GDP is going to go absolutely through the roof because of all the extra oil we're selling. You've got still have tens of trillions of dollars of investment flowing in. I mean, the economy, just last month, we had, what was it, 170,000 new jobs created in a time where most people are expecting less than 100 because of what AI is doing. The economy is firing on every possible cylinder right now, and it's only going to get better. So what I think Donald Trump really needs to start doing, even though he's already now starting to talk about Cuba, I think Cuba is going to solve itself very, very quickly. But I think it's really time to start. What? Go ahead.
Sorry. There might be a delay. Data Republican said the weirdest thing about the oil prices and Iran is that Tom Nichols and all the military journalists were calling doom and gloom and saying Trump just screwed over the world. But Nichols himself wrote exactly what democracy is dying because people are too impatient to let the democratic institutions finish their job. She said, 7 weeks is an incredible finish. She said, saying it isn't Iran's regime change, it's the globalist regime change. Wait, what? Hold on.
Well,
Go back.
so
This is what I was talking about.
So she
She's right about
hold on. So she's totally right about that. So Data Republican was on with Glenn Beck the other day, and I actually listened to it while I was hitting golf balls at the driving range the other day. And before that, the episode before that, Glenn Beck basically was laying out his what he believes this grand strategy is, and frankly, it's the same thing that we've been talking about for a while. And he said the only reason that it will fail, one, if we're wrong, it'll fail. The only other reason it will fail is because people are too impatient. And what the other one is, no one's articulating what's happening. So when gas prices necessarily go up so that you can create the situation that Iran is never able to shut down the Straits of Hormuz again, and they can't use that lever ever again, you get a little bit of short-term pain. But Iran and the globalists were betting on the fact that the American people didn't have the stomach for it, that they didn't want to wait it out.
Didn't. And so Garding has mentioned that the backdrop is in the Dropbox, so you might want to go grab that.
To that Dropbox. Someone's got to text me.
Well, I'll put it in the new one. Okay, I'll text it. Okay.
Can y'all explain why the rest of the world wasn't buying our oil over the last 40 years? Why they would rather deal with Muslims who aren't very friendly to the West than buy our oil? I mean, I've never really understood why that is.
So I can speculate.
Who were you asking about? What country?
The rest of the world.
I just meant
What country?
that the rest of the world, whether that's England or other countries, would rather buy Middle Eastern oil than buy from their friends, supposedly us, their NATO ally.
Well,
Why they would rather buy from Iran.
Well, you have to understand about this.
Imagine the distance.
Hold on, you have to understand who the people are that are actually pulling the strings with Iran, with the Straits of Hormuz, with the maritime shipping routes, the insurance contracts, all of those things. It was the Bank of London. It was Lloyd's of London. Lloyd's of London has owned the insurance contracts for all maritime traffic going through that region. So if they want to pull the levers of the economy through oil prices, all they had to do, or all somebody had to do, was nudge Iran and say, hey, go cause some chaos with the Hezbollah, with the Houthis, with Hamas, cause some chaos, shut down the Straits of Hormuz, put some mines in there, and then we just won't write insurance contracts. And when you can't traverse the Straits of Hormuz, everybody else in London, the Bank of London, all of the central bankers, the people who are involved with the futures markets for rare earth minerals, which is also in London, all of those people make a crap ton of money very quickly, and everybody else gets in line economically and does what they tell us to do. So when they want war, for some reason, all they got to do is make it about oil, and the American military for the last 50 years would get pointed at any direction and fired because they had us by the short and curly. So why wasn't our friends coming to us to get oil? Because they were the ones that were rigging the system in the first place.
That's right. Hey, Nam, you have a text message with that backdrop in there.
Okay.
The other thing to keep in mind, since real quick, I'll be quick.
It's hard because I'm trying to include Data Republican, but trying to also wait for like
let me just say this. Let me just say this real quick. So the other thing is that for decades, our own political system has restricted our ability to properly build refining capacity that we needed to be able to do this type of stuff. Not only that, but they've restricted our ability even to extract our own resources, and they've intentionally left us subjected to the globalist system. Sorry, SK, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Sorry. I need to just I forget I have my camera on so I can raise my hand. I text her when you said that you listened to Glenn Beck when you were on the golf course. I text her and I said, you were on with Glenn Beck and you didn't tell us. And she said, yeah, sorry. It's radio and it's always super weird being on radio as a deaf person. So I have no idea how it works. LOL. She said, I remember I prayed as a little kid to be able to listen to the radio one day. She said, so instead, God said I could talk on the radio, which is super weird. LOL. Yeah. Yeah, when she goes to like actual professional not shit shows, she usually has an interpreter. But when she comes to visit us, she just texts me and I just say it.
I'm bringing some folks up on the panel. I don't know if there's any liberals in here, but we're going to try it and just find out. Hey, GR Patriot, what's going on, man?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Doing well. 208 Outdoor, how are you?
I'm doing fine.
Okay.
What's on your guys' minds?
Okay, here I am.
It's funny how
Running upstairs.
Obama, the treasonous Obama,
And I ran up to the veranda.
that's not me.
Oh, is there like a TV on in the background or?
Hold on. It's curious how the treasonous Obama had his henchmen visit the Pope right before he made that speech.
Well, that's how he operates because Obama is the figurehead for the globalist system here in the United States, and he always has been. That's why he was installed. So what's even more curious is how a woman by the name of Amy Pope ended up being installed in the International Organization for Migration at the United Nations. And that story is a fascinating story about how she ended up getting installed there. So Amy Pope used to actually work for the Obama administration, and she was also the person who designed Joe Biden's migration strategy here in this country. And then somehow she just happens to be installed as the head of the International Organization for Migration. And she started working directly with Pope Leo back in October of last year on migration strategy. And what they've been doing is moving hundreds of thousands of radical Islamists out of Middle Eastern countries and flooding into Western nations. So effectively what they're doing, or what they've been doing, is breaking down the sovereignty of sovereign countries by migrating people into these countries so that they can totally overtake their cultures and their societies. And it's all being organized by one of Biden and Obama's surrogates and the Vatican.
But they're also working under other people, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately. What happens with Hungary? And do you think Obama could be the little horn from the Bible?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not going to make estimates. I don't even think we're anywhere close to that, if I'm being completely honest with you. I have a much longer timeline of when that type of stuff is going to develop. I think we, my personal, I think somewhat rooted perspective is that we are just now at the very, very, very beginning of developing even the possibility of a one world religion. And that's going to take some time because people are still steeped in their faith. And it's going to be really hard to get us to a point where the type of transhumanism is widely accepted in order to develop, will ultimately be the final religion. Where I've heard other people say, and I tend to agree, that we are centuries away from that.
Well, I mean, I'm not out to play devil's advocate with that. I would just say that I know that the papacy kind of planted the seeds for one world religion under JP2.
Mm.
It's been coming for a while, but I hope it's right.
Yep. Bringing people up.
Do we have any liberal Looney Tunes yet?
Are there any liberals in the comments that want to come? I haven't even seen anybody like raising a stink in the comments. I haven't seen any negative commenters either. Hey, Nam, did you ever get a response to
Like,
your,
if nobody's in
your
here
appeal?
threatening our lives or calling us names, it's like really weird.
You're probably.
That's okay. I'm wondering where the guy from last night is.
Which one? Oh, the crazy one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I told Nam and Patriot Dad they better not bring that guy up here because they'll get this live taken down in 2 seconds. We're on TikTok. You have to talk like you're in kindergarten, and that guy is not going to be able to do that. He was crashing out in the comments, and nobody even said anything to him.
That's why I had to turn my camera sideways when I had my iced tea.
What's
Oh,
up,
I forgot
patriotic?
about
Is that patriotic Catholic? Is that patriotic Catherine? I can only see the CATH on my screen. Are you there? All right.
Catholic.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Hey, how are you? What's on your mind?
I can play devil's advocate if you want me to play devil's advocate. I see it from both
Sure.
sides, but
Play devil's
Oh, I
advocate.
can-
Let's hear it.
I'm
I
really
can do that
disappointed.
too
You
if
know,
you wanna
I'm
do that.
Catholic and everything, and
Go ahead.
I just I love the Vatican too, and I tell you, you know, ever since then, I just seen the downfall of the Catholic Church and everything, and seen the direction that it's been going in. You know, I've really had high hopes for this new pope, but after I guess probably after the first month or so, I knew things weren't going to go in the direction that I was hoping it was going to go in.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean,
I
you kind of saw the writing on the wall because you don't.
I
They have
see
rejected American.
the
They have rejected American
the
popes
good
for
sides and the
centuries.
bad sides, both you know,
Kid
the
from
war
Chicago.
and am I breaking up? I feel like I hear like I'm breaking up or something.
You're fine. Although it does sound like maybe there's a bit of a
Oh, okay,
delay
great,
on
great.
your end.
So I've been kind of following this whole thing with
She is breaking up a bit.
Yeah, I'm going to drop you down, patriotic, because you're breaking up really bad. Maybe you need to jump out and come back in because we're having a hard time. Yeah, we're having a hard time keeping connection with you. So I'm going to drop you down and maybe you can come back up. There we go.
I was just going to say one last thing. I think the only reason why they gave us an American Pope was so that he could besmirch the U.S. and anything, and they'll say, well, he's an American, he knows, and therefore give him more validity instead of just being some dude from Rome or some Jesuit from Argentina. The thing that I think is most troubling about this guy is I don't know what you guys know about the prophecies that were told about the Jesuits, but the Catholics tried to stomp out the Jesuits about 150 years ago, and they were unsuccessful because they survived in Argentina. It was foretold that the Jesuits would destroy the Catholic Church, and it sounds like, at least in regards to Francis and Leo, that might be true.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I think the word I would use would be moral covering, right? So my perspective is that this Pope was selected, or should I say installed, because they were going to need somebody to give what they considered to be moral covering as they began to attack Donald Trump's efforts to reshape the global order, because the Vatican is a tentacle of the global system. He is. I mean, that's just what it is, and it has been for centuries. So if the American system is the one that's being elevated, and Donald Trump is the one that's doing it, I think there was a belief that if you pick an American pope, then you will have moral covering from an American, also the Pope, to be able to challenge that. And the problem for them is that we aren't buying it. We're not buying it.
So how was the Vatican part of the globalist system? I mean, no, I'm not asking the question. I'm kind of asking the question to set up the response. I mean, if you think just recently over the last
Roman Catholics.
well, I mean, if you think just recently over the last 15 years, what is the one organization, and Data Republican, and I know SK, you know the answer, Data Republican, feel free to hop in here and some insight. What is the one organization that was probably
Is the sound working on YouTube and all that now for you?
it is now. It's going to be an echo, but
Okay, I just wanted to make sure she would
Fair.
know this.
fair. Well, I mean, what
Oh,
and
yeah,
she
but
knows
you know
the
what I
answer.
mean.
You know the answer. The one organization, I think someone put out today that there's like between 3,000 and 5,000 NGOs that are involved with dealing with illegal immigrants or immigrants in this country, and the biggest organization that received the most amount of taxpayer money to do it was Catholic Charities, the Vatican, right?
Yeah,
The
Catholic Charities was. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Don't forget about the Lutherans. They were implicated also. The Lutheran Church has been bringing people in.
The Jewish charities, Lutheran charities, all of them, but Catholic charities played the biggest role. So the entire point of this globalist sort of thing is the U.S. taxpayer has been the slave that they have used. All of our tax resources, our military, it is us that has been the slaves to these folks that stand to lose the most when President Trump successfully implements the American system, where we don't need these people anymore. In fact, they are the pariahs now. They should be the pariahs going forward. Everybody that voted for Trump said they wanted this globalist system ripped out root and branch. And then when he actually starts to do it, you've got some folks who I think saw business opportunity to bet against him. Candace, all you folks, and they lost. They lost everything when they did it. They lost everything.
So that being said, if we leave NATO or we get expelled from NATO, I mean, I think that's a win no matter what. We're decoupling from their demonic system. No.
We can't just step away from NATO. There's laws in place that are going to require Congress to play a major role in that. But I think Trump may have some authority to defund it or to make life very difficult for NATO.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Along the way.
Two-thirds of Congress has to vote on it.
Yeah, I don't think we can just step away from it, but he can make them very, very uncomfortable. I was listening.
You can't just be kicked out of NATO. Then they couldn't vote you out.
I mean, I think there's probably some bylaws to figure out how NATO can expel somebody, but we can't just walk away from NATO because the president decides he wants to.
Well, let's be honest. NATO's not going to expel the United States. We have funded basically the entire thing for the entire time. They're not going to expel us.
Dude, it's so bad.
Can we be expelled from NATO? Because don't we have don't we have a permanent seat?
Maybe. I'm going to take a look at that. But the thing that I'm going to look that up real quick. But go ahead, SK.
I was going to say the UN won't expel us either. And I think that's another thing that I think we need to definitely largely step back from, if not completely exit.
Well, Woodrow Wilson
We are the world's crutch.
Yeah, Woodrow Wilson set that whole thing up for our country. That was kind of one of the beginning of the ends kind of thing. That and the Fed all around the same time.
Yeah, so apparently we cannot just step away.
NATO has. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I probably should turn my volume up. Data Republican said NATO has no precedent for kicking out anyone. They operate on a consensus system, meaning everything passes unless someone objects. That sounds unanimous, but it's more insidious than that. She said, in reality, there are enormous institutional pressures to never raise a public objection. So whatever they want goes.
Yeah, and on top of that, there's no expulsion clause in NATO's bylaws, so you can't just expel somebody. But something I was listening to earlier today. So recently, Great Britain has decided that they're going to start to actually rebuild their military. And the last time they spent any attention at all to their military was at the end of the Cold War. Just to give you an idea of how badly the United States has been taken advantage of by NATO and by European countries. Great Britain, who's supposed to have been our best friend in the region, hasn't done anything to upgrade their military in 30 years because they didn't have to.
They couldn't get
I
a
think
single
it's-
boat ready not too long ago. They said, like 3 months ago,
They broke.
couldn't get a boat.
Yeah, well, what happened is they were sending somebody over and it broke down on the way there.
I mean, how does-
I think
How
it
does-
goes back. I think it goes back longer than that, because from what I was understanding, they're saying their enlistment is down, and it's the lowest that it's been in 200 and some years, since the 1700s, and that right now they're only running 17 frigates.
Well,
they
which
can-
is-
Who wants to
They can enlist
represent?
immigrants.
Yeah, who wants to
Well,
go and
that's
fight
their
for Keir
problem.
Starmer? I mean, come on.
True.
Yeah, Keir Starmer's
I mean,
a
that's
joke.
exactly that's their problem. You got cities like Birmingham and everything that's overrun by Islamic extremists, that they're not going to willingly sign up to fight for a country that they have no respect for. So they have nobody to enlist.
That's going to be a bigger problem.
Thank
That's
you,
going to. That's
Data
gonna,
Republican, for joining us. Data Republican's gonna get off of here. I think there's no opposition, and I think she has some things she needs to do. Looks like her cat wants some attention. Bourbon is calling her name.
Thank you, Data Republican.
Yeah.
Listen, next Friday, let's bring her on just on the YouTube on the podcast.
So if you can't be kicked out of NATO, and we would have to have some sort of congressional mumbo jumbo to get out, I guess there was just no incentive to keep training your soldiers and your sailors and your airmen in order to defend your own country if we were just going to pay the bills and keep the lights on for them.
Well, that's
Just no incentive. It's crazy.
Well, that's exactly right. So not only did they not do that, they used us funding their defense so that they could build up their social safety net, so that they could build up their welfare systems. And that happened. They're there, and now they brag about how great their socialism is because we basically funded it for them. But the bigger problem we're going to have with a lot of these NATO countries, and frankly all of Europe, with the exception of Russia, in the very near future, is a lot of those are nuclear powers, and they are being completely Islamatized right now. Completely, the daggone crown in the UK. King Charles III did not issue an Easter message this year because he didn't want to offend the Muslims.
Well, that's why we're building Fortress Western Hemisphere, then, I would say. It's because we're going to decouple from the Islamatization of Europe. Is that not true, or am I spitballing here?
No, you're partially right. But it's bigger than that. It's much bigger than decoupling from Europe. It's understanding. So what President Trump is doing, just honestly, go read the national security strategy that was released in November if you haven't read it yet. Seriously, what President Trump is doing, he's recognizing is the United States of America is we are not doing this globalist system anymore where our taxpayers fund everything. Our taxpayers fund the military that everybody else uses whenever they want to accomplish something, right? We're done with that. In fact, we are heading into the next century where we have to start focusing on winning the next war that is coming. And it is a very significant technology race. Whoever wins the AI race and the space race is going to be the preeminent, it's going to be the single sole superpower in the world for the next 100 years. That's what President Trump is doing. So what he's recognized is, listen, we can't keep fighting all these battles in the Middle East. We can't have the economics of the globe being affected
the way that they have been in Iran, the Straits of Hormuz. We can't have that anymore. We can't have NATO not doing their job and we're funding all of it. You know what, Europe? You deal with Europe, Middle East. You deal with the Middle East. We are going to deal with the Western Hemisphere. We could all get along or not, but Europe, if you have problems, that's your problem to solve. Middle East, if you have problems, that's your problem to solve, because we don't need you anymore, because we are energy dominant in the Western Hemisphere. We don't need you anymore. There's nothing that they provide that we need.
Has anybody explored the problem with Ghana, Cuba, and China at the moment? Where Ghana is now restricting the amount of ore that's coming out of their country and is only dealing with China. And it's kind of, they're right now at the, I think they hold the highest amount of imported or exported ore that is going to be needed for AI. And if they're dealing only with Cuba and China, that's kind of going to put a hurting on the U.S. Now, I haven't dove into that any deeper than that. I've just hit surface level so far, but I think that's something we need to take a look at as well.
Well, we were already kind of,
Check your text messages. No, go ahead.
We were already kind of seeing like a Gog Magog with the BRICS nations kind of taking shape. And I seriously doubt they're just going to, 86 their plans. You know what I'm saying? That they're just going to say no to it.
Right.
Yeah, I haven't followed the BRICS progress at all recently, and I probably need to. But the question that I have is, if you have these countries that have been lining up to challenge the dollar, who are now starting to partner in a more regional approach, what is the point of challenging the dollar when you have agreements coming into place like the Abraham Accords, and you've got what appears to be Lebanon joining, Saudi Arabia joining, if they haven't already. You've got all these Gulf nations that are joining the Abraham Accords because they want to grow and develop their countries and their industrial bases. What's the point of needing to challenge the dollar anymore when you can instead focus on your own region, which is the entire purpose of this strategy that the Trump team is developing? It is a strategy that allows people to regionally control their own destinies. And if they want to create some type of currency that helps them, I mean, we'll explore it, figure it out. I couldn't really care less, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah,
What's really fascinating,
national or regional pride doesn't hurt.
Yeah, no, and not only does it not hurt, but it actually helps you to grow your own economies when you are allowed, without fear of having Iran drop a boom on your head, to do that.
Yeah.
I mean,
so it seems like we're trying to make some agreements with some other straits in the world. I saw that today. I don't remember the names of these other straits, but these other trade routes with China that China predominantly uses. So it seems like that's pretty smart as well, because there's other choke points that I wasn't aware of, I guess, in regards to international trade.
There's a major choke point that China relies on that literally runs right through the strait. I think it's called the Strait of Malacca. Yeah, Strait of Malacca.
That's the word I couldn't remember. Well done, sir.
It runs, it's like a 1.8 mile wide body of water that runs just to the northeastern shore of Indonesia. And China absolutely is dependent on that strait being free for them to transport their oil from the Middle East. And what happened back on Monday, when the rest of the world was chasing Donald Trump memes around, when he posted the painting of him dressed like a pope laying his hands on the sick, what nobody noticed is that at the same time, Pete Hegseth had announced an agreement with the Indonesian government to start building up their maritime security and defenses. So it's absolutely brilliant strategy for Donald Trump and our military to be involved in helping regions defend themselves. And that's what they're doing. They're saying, Indonesia, that's your waterway. You should be able to defend it if you want. We'll come in and help you. We're not going to do it for you. But if you have a problem, then you own the waterway. So China is absolutely screwed. And it's funny because right as that announcement was made back on Monday, I think it was the very next day, China came out and said, we're not going to provide any more weapons or weapon systems to the Iranian regime. Because right before that, a few days prior, China was talking about delivering some more surface-to-air defense systems to Iran, even though I don't know why anybody would want a Chinese weapons defense system because it
Yeah,
absolutely failed. It failed. I mean, in a colossal way, but yet nonetheless, they were planning to provide more weapon systems. And then as soon as the announcement was made from Pete Hegseth, suddenly China turns around and says, yeah, we're not going to do that. As a matter of fact, let's move the Iranian regime into a position where we can actually shut this thing down. We can get this conflict over just like we all knew was going to happen. We can open up the straits. We can get back to business as usual. And by the way, no longer is the British system going to have control over the Iranian oil and the Straits of Hormuz. I mean, this is world changing.
Brilliant.
London doesn't get to run the world through their speculation nonsense no more.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's right.
and after the butt kicking that we didn't give China a butt kicking, obviously, but we gave their equipment a huge butt kicking. Why would anybody want to do business, at least in regards to defense? And why wouldn't, after we've done all this and basically took Iran to the mat in a matter of weeks, why would anybody want to bet against us or flex on us, at least at this point in time? It's just beneficial for them to go with the flow, I would think.
I mean, the globalists don't have a choice because
I want to bring
everything
this
they have
to your guys' attention real quick.
Mhm.
I watched a YouTube video of this guy it was a couple months ago, and he was in Indonesia on vacation, and he filmed Israeli battleships sitting in that strait. What's that about? Have you guys heard anything about that?
No, I haven't.
No, he filmed
Nothing about it.
while he was on vacation Israeli ships in that strait, the Strait of Malacca or whatever it's called.
Malacca.
We're
Off
flying
the coast of
Israeli
Indonesia.
colors. They were flying their colors.
Yep.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and I'll send it to Patriot Dad if you want me to.
Yeah.
And
you guys-
you don't have to watch the whole YouTube. It's just the beginning of it. I found really interesting because we're not getting told anything about this.
Yeah, send it over to me. Did you guys see this post from Stu Peters earlier? So Trump is over at the TPUSA event speaking tonight, and
I saw that.
apparently all of the fake Black Pill Want to Be America First crowd are very, very upset because Donald Trump said, next we're going to war with Cuba. Watch what happens. Now, I don't know how many times Donald Trump has to use the exact same negotiation tactic that he uses over and over and over and over and over again before these pinheads realize that what he's doing is he's throwing out a maximalist position,
Yep.
a warning to the Cuban leaders and saying, hey, it's time for you guys to get back to the table because we've got some negotiating to do. And if you don't, you're going to pay for it. And why would he be doing that? Well, because it goes back to the American system he's implementing. We are, whether people like it or not, we are going to dominate the Western Hemisphere. That's just the way it's going to work. We will not allow a communist nation with roots to our enemies to be sitting 80 miles off of our southern border. Trump will not allow it to happen. So either the Cuban leaders come to the table and they open up their government and they open up their economy and they start actually participating in the Western Hemisphere economy, or he's going to do something about it. So just get ready for it because that's going to happen.
Yeah, the Great Decline is now the Great American Reset.
It's in the world doctrine. He's following it to a T.
Absolutely.
Well, the interesting part about this, right, is because you mentioned the Great Decline, right? The interesting part about this is what President Trump is building requires nobody to decline. It requires everybody else to make progress and to improve. Everybody. He's not trying to hurt anybody. He's not, well, except for, totalitarian regimes. Get them out of there so that their people can actually succeed. He doesn't want anybody to decline. He doesn't want China to decline. He wants them to stop manipulating their currency. He wants them to stop stealing our intellectual property. He wants them to stop stealing our stuff and then making cheap versions of it with slave labor and selling it back to us at pennies on the dollar. He wants them to stop doing all that stuff, but he also wants the Chinese people to succeed. He wants the people of Iran to succeed. He wants the people of Venezuela to succeed, but he recognizes that they never will when they're under the thumb of their tyrants, their dictators that have been there for so long, which is why he's lopping the head off the snakes, and he's trying to save as much as he possibly can for those people. You're not going to see boots on the ground. He doesn't need it. He's shown that over and over and over again.
Well,
Exactly.
Cuba's going to be easy because Cuba was entirely dependent on Venezuelan oil, and now we have control of the oil. There is not going to be a negotiation with the Cuban leadership. It's basically like, we have you by the short and curlies. Let's talk. I mean, that's all there is to it. Cuba will not survive without a negotiation with the Trump administration because they have no ability to power their island at all without Venezuelan oil. Which we
Yeah, they had rolling blackouts before we decoupled Venezuela from them. It's only gotten worse, man.
Yeah. I'm gonna jump out here, guys. I just want to say I commend you guys for not taking that black pill and going down that road. Thank you very much. I love you guys' content over on TikTok. I follow the hell out of it. I always give you a like. So
Thank you very much,
jump out of
Steve.
here.
I think it's worth mentioning that, you know, the folks who took the black pill, and Patriot Dad and I were talking about it a little bit earlier in the green room over on StreamYard about what actually happened, right? I mean, are these low IQ people? No. That's what President Trump does. He just throws that out. It's kind of funny to watch happen. No, I think realistically what happened is Candace is playing a role, and we could spend.
Jay, my man, I'm going to mute you because you keep dropping your system. Jay, we'll mute you. So
Just mute him
when you're ready to come back up. Yeah, we did. Okay, we're good.
So I mean, Candace is playing a role, and I think there's a heck of a lot of big name creators and influencers said, man, she is making so much money doing this. And they made a business decision to bet against Trump, because the other part of this is Trump is essentially a lame duck, right? And a lame duck in the MAGA movement, meaning who is going to be next? Who is next? And these people were jockeying to be in the right position for who was next. And they were trying to essentially commandeer, they were trying to steal the movement to make it theirs so that they could lead it in a different direction. The only way, and Bongino's talked about this, I don't want to steal his thunder, the only way that that's possible is if you malign and you embarrass Trump and you make him look like he was the problem and then their person is the solution. They bet against him and they all lost. They all lost.
But they didn't just do that though. They said stupid things like there's a moral equivalence with Islam. Islam loves Jesus. They did a whole bunch of just really crazy things to where even the most mundane, most unlearned layman would say something is not right here. Like Tucker Carlson and the rest of these guys all piled on, even the Hodge twins.
No,
I was just very disappointed in some of these people. And I was like, I always take what people say with a grain of salt. You're not going to be my allegiance. My allegiance is to God alone. But I have to admit that I have been very disappointed in some of the people who at least position themselves to be trustworthy, and they just clearly were not. They were all about the dollars.
No, you're right on the money right there. And the people who made the decision to bet against Trump, they were being fed. I mean, this is one of the things I mentioned earlier that Data Republican was on with Glenn Beck the other day. Go watch it. Seriously. It's what she uncovered with the help of SK and Lisa and a bunch of other people was that the Iranian government was literally pumping propaganda directly into our American political system, right straight into it. They were pumping it into folks like Ryan Matta. They were pumping it into like Candace Owens, and then it was being disseminated. And they were also pumping it into.
Wait, what?
Huh?
Wait, what? I mean, I know we all kind of suspected that. Are you saying that she tracked that down?
No. So what she tracked and what she talked about on Glenn Beck was how Iranian propaganda was being pumped into the protests that were happening, the protest groups that SK and all them talk about. And then at the same time, all of the footage from the protest groups was being pumped immediately back to Iranian state media to say the American people are on the regime's side. So that's what she was talking about. But that same propaganda is what folks like Ryan Matta and others were reacting to. That's what they were pushing.
And it was so beyond the pale to allow 45,000 or how many thousands of Iranians to be unalived by their regime who were peaceful protesting, that these people actually bet against Trump and said, no, we should be backing this regime who is literally unaliving their own people. You know what I'm saying? This how stupid
Do we have,
are people.
do we have opposition in the chat?
I don't know. Do we? Is there opposition?
I haven't seen any.
So Templar,
Let's
just
bring 'em
I just
up.
want to wrap up real quick what Templar said. You are right about that. What they did though was they essentially believed the Iranian propaganda that said that we didn't do that. That wasn't us. That didn't happen. So they were just slurping it right up. They were just slurping it up and regurgitating it.
Well, I don't care what they did. All I know is they lost in a major way. It all came crashing down today, and we deserve a victory lap. We deserve a victory lap. And we should take it. Arthur, what's going on, man? You've been sitting down there in the corner this whole time. What's going on?
Not much, just listening.
Cool. How are you?
Good, good.
What are your thoughts?
How should we feel about the elections coming up? Should we be worried?
I think that we should be doing everything we can to get as many people out to vote as possible. And I think that should be generally our approach every election cycle. But Nam made a comment earlier, and I totally agree with him. With the pace with which our news cycles and our political cycles are moving right now, people don't remember things that happened 3 weeks ago, let alone what's going to happen 6-7 months from now. So we are literally a light year away from the midterm elections.
Yeah, 10, 10, and 10.
Everything is going to be different by the time we get to those elections. So am I worried? No, I'm not. And here's why. There's a lot of polling being done right now that you have to get past all of the bot driven, online polls that are being done. But there's actually real polling being done right now that compares approvals for Democrats and Republicans historically versus now. And generally, when an opposition party takes a large or retakes a House of Congress during midterms, they are generally leading by double digits in approval ratings. And right now, Republicans are actually still ahead of Democrats in overall approval. Meaning
They don't have a
people don't
plan except that they hate Trump. You know?
Yeah.
And
Bottom line
if,
is people just
this
don't
is the
like
thing
Trump.
I would say to that.
So
Well, yes, but we have a reason to not like them because of the moderate in Virginia and everything that she's doing. So people are seeing all this stuff in real time. The Hamburglar is making them look so bad between that and Newsom.
So listen. So if on the election coming up in November, which what is it? It's
I gotta
April.
go out, guys.
All right, man. Thanks, dude.
Cool.
Thanks for coming in.
It's April. It's 4. It's 11. We got 7 months. I think the bigger concern, frankly, is people just simply are not paying attention to the primaries. That I can tell. Maybe you are locally. So what I would say the biggest threat to us is in states that have gone down the UN path that we've been highlighting. SK and Lisa Logan have been highlighting forever, where they've got ranked choice voting and they've got jungle primaries and all these things. If you're not aware of who your primary candidates are and you don't understand if you've got a jungle primary, you're doing ranked choice voting, you could end up in November not having a Republican to vote for if you don't understand what's going on in your primaries.
Can I ask a question regarding what they just did in Virginia, which they're saying they're going to not respect the votes of the people, they're going to do the popular vote thing? How does that stack up against our Constitution, which says that we're a republic, we're not a mob rule?
That's a great question. I'd love to hear SK's opinion on that because she knows this stuff better.
What
than
was
anybody.
it?
So this idea of
How is giving all of your electoral college votes based on majority vote, nationwide majority vote, how does that stack up against the Constitution? How
Yeah,
do you
it's
use
not
that?
constitutional at all. And aside from the Civil War, there are Supreme Court rulings that say it's unconstitutional, including the one that some people try to use to say that it is constitutional because they were ruling on the Mason-Dixon line.
But they have this compact that Virginia just signed on to. It's like
That's what I'm
19.
talking about. That is not what that says. I mean, it says that they can take their land back, but states can't come together and make a compact. That's why they're able to take the land back, is because the government's saying states can't make a compact. Think about the Civil War. If what they're doing is constitutional, then the southern states could have joined forces and left the Union or done whatever they wanted to do. The whole purpose of being able to keep a united country is because the states can't enter into compacts in the way that they would be if they were choosing to give their electoral votes. The Constitution is clear about how electoral votes are divided. I have my Constitution. Actually, it fell behind my desk. So
This is a bluff, essentially, and they're hoping that nobody will
Yes.
call it.
Exactly. Because if you read that ruling, they're very specific about why they're ruling the way they're ruling. And they also point out the fact that states are not allowed to join together against the federal government.
No, Maggie Jake, that's not my phone vibrating. It's somebody else's. Somebody else is getting a lot of. It might be Nom's actually. I don't know if it's Nom's.
It's
phone
not mine.
vibrating.
It's not mine.
vibrating for a while, but it's not mine right
Yeah, somebody keeps getting messages. and
It's literally not mine. I promise you.
It's not.
This is a supremacy clause type of thing, or is it something else, SK?
Whoever's phone that is, pick it up off the desk, please, and put it in your pocket or
Let me
something.
look. Let me grab my Constitution really well. I could probably look it up faster on the internet. Let me look because I don't remember exactly where it is in the Constitution, but it's clear. Might be Article 2.
So I heard this and I was just disgusted because I felt like Virginia has enough problems. It's supposed to be for lovers and they're taking away their pew-pews, they're taking away so many rights. They tripled their light bills. And then I saw this compact thing and I was just like, it's like you've already got 2 black guys and a busted lip. How much more are Virginians supposed to take at this point?
Well,
Virginia
this is
would be
all
the
part of
target
their
for it.
plan. Just so you're aware, this is all a part of their plan. Everything that's happening right now is a part of their plan. Like the whole network we've been exposing, talking about how they want to change the Constitution and the structure of our government. This is exactly what I'm talking about. As a matter of fact, one of their huge initiatives is changing our elections from having an electoral vote to being a popular vote.
So all of this, including Ted Cruz saying we're a democracy, he's supposed to be a constitutional scholar. This is all by death by design, essentially.
Well, yeah, I mean the democracy crowd, the democracy folks, which by the way are the same people that Trump is battling on the global stage, the Vatican, they're all the same. United Nations, they're all the same. All their groups, all their NGOs, they want a democracy in our elections. They don't want the constitutional republic. They want nationwide, one person, one vote, and that's it to decide all of these things. Except in the state, they want one person, one vote. But at the federal level, they think that they are going to be able to pull together enough Democrats or whatever to vote at the in the popular vote that we will never win again. And that's the goal. That's what they're trying to do. And they're rigging all kinds of stuff. Again, you got ranked choice voting is a way that they're doing it. They're doing their jungle primaries. I mean, they're not playing around.
How likely is it that Fetterman switches parties?
I don't know. I actually already did. He leave the Democrat Party and is he voting as an independent or a caucus?
I don't know. I think he's probably like the Republicans every cycle thinking they're going to pick up New Jersey. He's like Republicans thinking that Fetterman's going to leave the Democrat Party.
Yeah,
but I mean, I don't really care if he stays with the Democrats or not because ultimately, in many cases, he's voting the right way.
Yeah, I have to give the guy credit. The stroke was probably the best thing that ever happened to him.
I was just going to say, I proposed a motion that all liberals have to go through whatever stroke treatment that guy had to go through because that's what they all need.
I think it was probably had more to do with his wife not being on the scene anymore.
Yeah, that's probably true. Hey, I had somebody over in YouTube earlier was asking about what happened in the Candyland cult today because they had a very, very bad day today. A very bad day today.
Well,
There's a couple videos that I put in the Dropbox of the. Did you say that you can't get Dropbox videos in here?
no, if I can, I just can't get the Dropbox
Okay.
that you have with the back office team. I don't have access
Oh
to
no,
that.
no, no, no. This is
No, I've
our
got
folder.
you want
So-
you do we want the evidentiary hearing?
Yep.
God, I'm
Yep,
trying.
yep.
I'm trying.
So for those over you in
Sorry.
For
I'm trying
those
to
of
click.
you
I'm
over
trying to
in
click the
YouTube-
button over on StreamYard. It's the wrong place. I'm looking at the wrong thing.
She's
For those of you guys
sorry.
Those of you guys over in YouTube who are wondering what the hell happened.
Oh,
with
is
Kansas, I
that
would
young
say, well, it's
Jeffrey
the same
down in
thing
the
that-
chat?
Do we need young Jeffrey? Young Jeffrey, get up here, man. So for those of you who are in YouTube and are wondering, the same thing happened to the Candyland cult today that happened to the fake Black Pill people today. They had their entire worldview disrupted by the truth. That's what happened to them today.
Which one do you want?
Because
TR
for 7
evidence or
months-
TR on camera?
I don't really know which one. I think I might have labeled it incorrectly. The one that's a minute and 1 second, I think, is the one where they talk about the video. The one that's like 50 something seconds is the other one. Let's play the other one first.
I can't see that. All I can see is files.
Okay.
So, all right, here we'll
Then just pull it
play
up.
whichever one plays. No file chosen.
See, Patriot Dad, see, the truth always comes out, and the truth is like a anesthetic. You know what I'm saying? Like it washes everything away. So it took 7 months, and the people that bought into this malarkey, hopefully, they're not so far gone that they can actually still see the truth. They'll look up from their trough of lies long enough to, get red pilled again. But if not, hopefully somebody will be sent to them that will, help them come back to Jesus, because this has been a lot to take in, and I've had friends that I don't speak with right now because of the whole Candace treatment.
Well, here, do this. Take this video that I'm getting ready to show.
Hold on.
And show it to your friends. It's all over X right now.
I am.
Is it going to play?
No, it is. It is. I've got too many things. This thing is screaming at me, telling me that you've got too many widgets going at one time. This thing is a freaking memory hog. It's a freaking CPU hog. And my 7-year-old MacBook Pro is not getting the job done right now. So I'm sorry, back office team. I had to take the looping video off of our logo so that we can maybe play this. Let's see if it works. There we go.
Let's go.
We've got a source. Here we go.
He then leaves the campus. UV surveillance then captures him return later. He returns on foot right before the start of the Kirk event. He's wearing a disguise of sorts. He's wearing a baseball cap, different baseball cap, pulled low. He's got sunglasses on, a different shirt, different pants, but the same Converse shoes. That's all seen in the surveillance. He's limping because there's a rifle down his pants. The surveillance captures this individual. Again, I don't want to overstate the evidence because the pictures of his face at this time are not as definitive as they were earlier because of the sunglasses and the hat. But it captures his face, captures his appearance, his height, his build, all consistent with how he looks earlier in the day and how he looks today in court. But he makes his way to the rooftop, makes his way to the sniper's perch on the rooftop, takes the shot, and then runs to the northeast, drops off the building and runs northeast of the campus into a wooded area. That's all captured on video.
Wait a minute. I thought that we were told that he wasn't even on campus.
Sometimes the simplest story is the truth, that there was a lone G-man and he went and took, the circumstances into his own hands. Sometimes it is just that simple.
Yeah, dude, we call that Occam's razor. Keep it simple, stupid. The simplest explanation is sometimes the correct, actually, most times the correct explanation. And in fact, if you don't twist yourself into knots to try to blame Egyptian planes or Jewish lasers or whatever you've been blamed, it turns out that when you have the DNA of the accused on the rifle, and then you actually have I mean, we got 12 terabytes of evidence, and for people to say there's no evidence, there's 12 terabytes of evidence. It's so much evidence that the defense had to come out and beg for a 6-month continuance or 4-month, whichever it was, so that they could
Just
get
so
through
they
it
could
all.
go through all of it.
Right?
Yeah.
That's like literally the opposite of no evidence. It's the absolute complete opposite of it.
SK, I got a question for you. Question for you, SK. So there's this idea out there that, and I think it was just kind of mentioned here. There's this idea out there that TR, Tyler Robinson, was just acting as a lone wolf. What is your perspective, given the ample amount of evidence that you've been collecting about these pipelines, on whether or not there's a lone wolf, just some dude that decided to wake up one day and go do something awful?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Tyler Robinson likely, unequivocally, all the publicly available information and evidence would show that Tyler Robinson 100% pulled the trigger. I think it's crazy that people think otherwise. I've always thought that. My question is about the radicalization and the people with prior knowledge and how he got to that point, coming from where he came from and having the beliefs that he had and changing as quickly as he did. That's what's a little crazy to me, especially when you consider the dignity index and the people that are involved with that and the whole, healthy democracy ecosystem and the organizations and NGOs that are involved with that. And you consider the fact that the Mormon Women for Ethical Government changed the registration for dignity.us the day after Charlie Kirk was unalived. I think that is, telling. I think that there has been some radicalization taking place. You have all the ties with UVU. You have everything that's taken place this week with them announcing the commencement speaker for UVU that made really not good remarks about Charlie Kirk after he was unalived. And then, you have people like Data Republican coming out, and then, UVU made the decision finally to change their commencement speaker, thankfully. But UVU is also a UN hub, and it's one of the radicalization pipelines, and Utah is ground zero for all of the UN federal plan stuff. That's where they put all of the pilot programs, and it's important that people understand that. And I think that all ties in. I said from day one, I think on one of our first podcasts was when this happened, that I felt like this was going to expose all of this web that I had been trying to explain and expose for a very long time. And it's doing exactly that.
Yeah.
I do believe that Charlie will not have lost his life in vain. And I think it's going to expose a whole lot, whether it's actually directly related with his unaliving or not. I think a lot of things are going to get exposed, and it's already started happening.
Yeah.
Well,
The devil meant for evil, God's turning around for good.
Yeah,
for sure.
Listen, there's another part of this, right? That's happening. That
totally agree.
That the black pills, the FAGAs don't want to recognize is while they're chasing Egyptian planes and Jewish space lasers, there's actual connections that are being delivered to the Department of Justice that are actually being investigated. Right? This is happening. So we actually have a DOJ and an FBI that are not leaking like sieves. They are enforcing, or they are investigating, and they are not weaponizing. They are following actual evidence in these cases, and they're not leaking it. We have no idea what because frankly, listen, the case against Tyler Robinson, this is a Utah state. This is not the federal Department of Justice. This is a Utah state case. The FBI has been helping, ATF has been helping, but there are other aspects of this of the potential connections that we know for a fact the DOJ and the FBI are still tracking down, right? Whether there's anything there or not, we don't know. And you won't know unless there are charges brought. You just won't, because that's how the DOJ is supposed to behave.
Well, we
That's
have
right.
a
Hey,
big
Nom,
problem,
hey, Nom.
though.
GP Wolko over on YouTube is very upset that we are forced to talk like children on TikTok.
Yeah.
No shade at you, GP. We totally hear you on this, but unfortunately, TikTok forces you to talk like you're four.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to use actual words on this platform
Yeah,
because somebody might get offended.
And by the
there are
way,
trigger words. I was up here talking about factual information that I have receipts for. Some of it comes directly from the government. I've been taken down for reading government documents for being misinformation. They were actual court documents from the court transcripts that I paid for, by the way. And yeah, this platform is ridiculous.
by the way, while we were
That's-
talking about Abigail Spanberger and what she's doing over there,
You
with
got a
the-
warning, didn't you?
Yeah, we got a civic and election integrity warning.
Well, that's the
Yeah,
thing.
you can't talk about elections here.
You can't, because remember, guys, before Biden left office, the Center for Global Engagement, all of the stuff that took place, they declared elections as critical infrastructure.
Yeah.
So anything that you say that could somehow influence,
people.
you're not even allowed to say that word. We're probably going to get another one.
Do we have
Anything to what we call it a pizza party instead of an
That's
E
right.
word.
That's
Anything to influence a pizza party, you're going to get censored for it, and you're going to get your live band, your videos taken down, all those things, because you can't talk about the E words in the pizza parties. Actually, now pizza party might not work.
I think we've got an
highlighting that. I
FAG.
didn't
I think
know
we've got
that.
an FAGA over there in the YouTube chat. Patriot Pete QM5P1. You guys might be able to see him up there in that widget that's over there. Patriot Pete says, I heard Tyler Robinson was tied to JD Vance's NGO. Really makes you think. What the actual crap are you talking about? That's just stupid. Let's just get out of here, dude. Just dumb.
There is a point that has to be made that everybody who's been even cursorily following Candace Owens and her band of like juice drinking mama sleuths is that every word that the attorney said that Nam played earlier when he was standing up there talking about the video that they have, every bit of what he said was captured in the charging documents that we've known about for 7 months. For 7 months, we've known that the prosecution had video recording of this dude basically from the moment he stepped on campus until he left. And the fact that Candace Owens had to have known that because I know she says she read the charging documents. I read the charging documents. Everyone has read the charging documents. So if the charging documents say that they have that evidence, and yet she spends the next 7 months doing everything she can to try to nullify the jury and attacking TPUSA is somehow implicated and Erica Kirk. Here's what you need to understand. It is now more clear than ever that this rampage that she has been on has absolutely nothing to do with getting to the bottom of the unaliving of Charlie Kirk. It has always been designed. It has always been designed around taking down the single most important organization that Donald Trump relied on to get elected in 2024. It is more clear now than ever that she has been at the spear tip of the effort to try to slow down voter turnout of young conservatives who honestly is what got Donald Trump elected.
Well, so just a last Templar, I muted you. It sounded like you had R2D2 playing on your TV in the background. I don't know what that was. Come off mute if you want to talk.
It was an echo of me.
Cool. Well, I don't know what it was, but so
I apologize.
No,
I don't know why my mic was on. I apologize.
It's all good. It's all good. So Patriot Dad is right. So understand. So listen, Candace's role. We cannot gloss over the fact that Candace Owens entered into the marriage that she's in after knowing George Farmer for 18 days. Listen, you're going to have a hard time convincing me that this was not an arranged marriage for a purpose. And in my opinion, so George Farmer is his father and their relationship to all of the same people that has been pulling the levers in Iran, the bankers, the Bank of London, all of those folks. I mean, you're a lord in the UK. You're playing in that game. That's just a fact. And in 18 days, Candace meets this dude and they get engaged and then they get married. Candace wanted Charlie and Candace wanted TPUSA, and the role she is playing now is to destroy the most effective get out the vote operation, because if Republicans can't win the midterms, President Trump cannot complete what he's trying to do on the global stage. Everybody needs to understand that. If we lose the midterms, this is all lost, because they will impeach him. They will shut it all down. It will be done.
This is why I was
And
asking
people
about
are,
how much we should be worried for that if that happens.
Well, I mean, you should be worried, because listen, if President Trump came into office and he was like, I'm just going to play with a couple of levers, a couple of things that all the other presidents do. I'm going to tinker with gas prices over here. I'm going to, play with tax rates over there. It's never going to solve anything, because then when the Democrat gets in the next time, it's going to march it even further to where we're going to have to remove 40 million illegals that they're going to bring in over the next 4 years. It's a losing proposition. So President Trump is betting the farm. So far, he's absolutely winning. But folks, it is our responsibility. Arthur, Templar, conservative dude that hasn't really spoken yet, SK, it is our job to make sure we don't lose the midterm.
anybody
It's
that's
our job.
taking a victory lap right now is an imbecile. We have to get out and motivate, because people think this is just about Trump. The left clearly hates the people of this country and thinks that they're smarter and more ethical than the rest of us. And that's what makes them so dangerous, is right now they're pushed in the corner, and you have to worry about the person you put in the corner, because they're going to come out with the craziest stuff. And Candace Owens was just a symptom of that cat in the corner that's going on right now.
Well, I would argue that we can absolutely take a victory lap all over the heads of the fake Black Bill wannabe America First crowd and the Candace Owens, whatever her group of people are. There are so many words that I want to use that I'm not allowed to on this platform. That's scary. But we can take a victory lap all over their heads, because they lost this round of propaganda. They lost. Now, they're not going to stop, but they still lost.
Well, so more importantly, not only did they lose, they also lost a lot of credibility, right? A lot of credibility.
Yep.
Because there are folks sitting on the sidelines watching. Let's go. Erica Kirk, she seems a little weird, a little awkward. Let's go after her. And then they're watching. Okay, you know what? Basically everything that the state has said that they had for evidence, and there's all these people over here who have been saying that the evidence exists, and then you got all these folks over here just coming up with absolutely cockamamie ideas that never connect. They just don't make any sense. Blaming Erica Kirk for her. This is just but that's what they're doing. Folks are waking up, right? Folks, if
I understand what you're saying, and I'm not calling people like Patriot Dad or anybody like this imbeciles. I'm talking about people in general, because the Republicans aren't really helping the president much.
No.
The president is doing everything he can, and it feels like the Republicans are sandbagging, almost like the Mitch McConnell-esque.
Oh, they are.
Worse.
They are
right now.
100%.
So that's what I'm saying. Don't spike the football yet. That's all I'm saying. We've got a lot to be happy about, but the fight ain't over yet.
No, I know, and you're right. So Patriot Dad was right. He said, "Listen, we're going to do a quick little victory lap just because we want to." There's been a ton of back and forth and vitriol from one side of this conservative MAGA creator space to the other. And a lot of I told you so's, or you're going to say I told, all this stuff. So we're going to take a quick victory lap, but we're not done, like, even at all, because you're right. Tomorrow we have to wake up and make sure the SAVE Act gets passed, because we have to deal with the Republican Congress who is trying to run out the clock on Trump. They don't care if they lose the midterms. A lot of them don't. They don't care. They feel like they're more effective in the minority. They prefer to be in the minority.
I don't see how they could think that way, because they will never win another election. Man.
Well, here's the rub, and if you learn this really important lesson, it'll change everything for you. And this is an old Rush Limbaugh lesson that everyone needs to understand. Most Republicans in Congress are actually Democrats, but no Democrats in Congress are actually Republicans. If we wrap our arms around that, everything that they do will make sense. But not while we're talking about victory laps. I just noticed that the artist formerly known as whatever the heck his name is, is out there posting right now saying no one believes for a second that the president of the United States, and then he refers to BB Satan Yahoo as the president, will allow Trump to end the war. Excuse me, and I don't, he may even be watching this because he's on this platform a lot. Excuse me, the artist formerly known as whatever the heck your name is. In case you haven't noticed, if it's even possible to have negative credibility, that's you. Because there is nobody on that platform or this one that has been more wrong about any of this than you and Ryan Matta and the rest of you fake black pill wannabe America First people who for 7 weeks have been trying to convince your audiences that we were losing. You went as far as saying that we were losing this conflict in Iran. And yet every word that you've been spewing out of your mouth for 7 weeks turned out to be 180% wrong, 180 degrees backwards. And yet
You
here
ever
you
seen
are.
men at work? Golf clap. Golf clap.
Well, can I just say this? Can I just say this real quick? So he was all up in my DMs. It's like when things looked like they were going to turn bad, he was up in my DMs. And when they got better, he went quiet. The last time I heard from him was 2 weeks ago, and I told him, I said, give President Trump a month, and this will be solved. We're 2 weeks into that, so I'm going to claw up in his DMs tomorrow and be like, how you like me now? How you like me now? It might be a little early. Listen, Iran could do some crazy stuff, but at least right now, as of today, we've got an agreement where Iran says we will not use the Straits of Hormuz as a weapon ever again. And if they go back on that, that's Iran saying that they want to punish the world so that a few religious fanatics can stay in power. That's all that is.
Yeah, you've got a death spiral then, and it's just a matter of where it stops. You know, if we get back into the conflict.
K-Pasta over on YouTube. Yes, unfortunately, we have to talk like 4-year-olds, or I would be using the proper terms for the guy formerly known as whatever the heck his name is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why we're not getting
You take it down.
We had a bunch of people actually saying that the blue and white country was actually running President Trump and leading him by the nose. And I was like, anybody that actually believes that is just a total ding dong.
Well, they absolutely are ding dong. I mean, listen, nobody drags President Trump into it. It's like these people haven't had the last 12 years or, I don't know, the last 40 years to understand who President Trump is, how he operates, how he negotiates from a position of strength, only from a position of strength. And that maximalist position is always meant to get somewhere more than middle of what he wants. It's like these people, I don't know. I can't wrap my brain around it. Maybe they're too focused on individual clicks and views on statements instead of, taking a step back and be like, what is he doing? What is he actually trying to accomplish?
I'm 48 years old, and I'm old enough. I was a small boy when Oprah was a huge thing.
Yeah, I mean,
she wanted him to run for president. She was just fawning over him, and he was saying, "Look, we should be running Iran's oil. There's no reason why these people should have our hostages." And so, for people to feign ignorance like they didn't have almost 50 years of tape on this guy, it was just kind of beyond the pale to me that they were surprised when we, drop bombs over Baghdad, so to speak, on Iran.
It's even worse than that because he literally uses the same language 35 years later, the exact same words. It's like his opinion has not changed on that at all. He's used the exact same words for 35 years. So, I mean, yeah, please tell me how Netanyahu is dragging him around. Listen.
Well, and then tell me how he's betrayed his principles too. That was the thing. Like, he's betrayed his base. He's totally crawfished on everything he'd ever said. And I was like, obviously, people aren't paying attention, or more importantly, they're hoping that we weren't.
Well, so we did this on the podcast a couple of weeks ago because we were seeing that Trump's he's abandoned his base. He's abandoned his promises. And we actually went and looked at them. And I don't know if Patriot Dad, if you're listening, if you want to weigh in on this, we actually went and read Agenda 47 live on the air, and he is either has accomplished or is almost done accomplishing 19 out of the 20 items on Agenda 47. So he's not abandoned
Absolutely amazing.
his
dude.
promises at all. He's completing
The
them.
only one that he
But
hasn't-
what these people are doing is they are essentially, anytime they say nothing's happening or he's abandoning it, once they realize that something's happening, they just move on to the next thing. They don't ever address what they just said. They don't ever correct the record on any of that. They just move on to the, well, that's not what he said he was going to do, when actually it is, and he does it, and then they move on to the next thing, because these people are more interested in daily clicks and monetizing the bullshit, monetizing the engagement, than trying to be correct and accurate.
Well, that's what happens
Yeah.
though, when you're divorced completely from the truth. You're very easily found out, like what happened today.
And then the
Right,
way
so
they
we look-
double down is just ridiculous.
We went through all 20 of the agenda points of Agenda 47. The only one that has not yet been at least remotely successful is number 20, which is uniting the American people. And that is the one thing that these lunatics still have the ability to influence through their slop, is the overall objective, which is to unite this country after decades and decades of intentional division. That's going to take a Herculean effort, and it's going to take taking these fake black pill wannabe America First people to task for every lie that they've told. It's going to require
just that.
exposing people like Candace Owens for being the slop merchant that she is.
That's kind of just like, I think, the first layer of skin. You have to like retake the 7 mountains of influence. You got to get in, take over education. You got to bring back the Smith-Mundt Act or the Charlie Kirk Act, whichever one you prefer. There's a lady that brought that up, and I thought I saw that President Trump actually reposted her tweet.
I want to address the Smith-Mundt Act. I know you had 5 more points you want to get to, but
My bad, man. I've been talking a lot.
no, it's all right. No, so the Smith-Mundt Act, and the Smith-Mundt Act never impacted private media. The Smith-Mundt Act existed to prevent government-funded, government-paid, government media like Voice of America, like those things, from pushing propaganda out to the rest of the world. That's all it did. So when Obama came in, he essentially legalized us propagandizing the rest of the world. It never affected the First Amendment right, because media outlets have a First Amendment right to lie to you. Now, they can't defame you or libel you or any of that stuff, but they have a First Amendment right to lie. They just do, unless they're, using FCC airways or government national airways, then that's a different story. There's FCC laws. But the Smith-Mundt Act never affected ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, any of those things. It never did.
Well, we need to correct that. I mean, you do have a First Amendment right to lie. Maybe you just make the lying very expensive with things like community notes and stuff of that nature.
Yeah.
We, the people, have to maintain our republic. Like Ben Franklin said, it's up to us. So I think, maybe we have depended too much on these agencies to do our dirty work for us. But at the same time, like, when you can take film from all these different entities and the sentence just keeps going if you switch the channel or you switch the box, it's quite horrifying, if I might be, just blunt. And we need to clean that up, although exactly how to do that, I don't know. Maybe you've got some ideas.
Well, I think that, I'm sorry. Hi, guys.
Hi, just me. How you doing? Welcome to the
doing
show.
great.
You're on our
Thank
podcast,
you.
by the way.
When?
You're on our podcast, streaming out to YouTube, X, and Rumble as well.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So I think that one of the things that we have to remember is that a lot of American people only read headlines and they have the attention span of a gnat. And so it's extremely difficult to get past that because they don't read anything but what the headline is and they never understand the context. And I think that's where you guys do such a great job, all of you, in breaking down to the context so that people can understand. It's just getting past that initial, it's headlines. That's all they look at is the headline. And they never actually look to see what the article is or what the actual story is. And we have to start teaching, I don't know if we can teach people, but I think we have to start at least educating them that there was more to the story than the headline than what they saw. I actually believe that.
Well,
And
it is beautifully said. The craziest thing, right, is people read headlines and these outlets know it and they want to propagandize and they want to lie to these people. And then a lot of cases, if you actually read the article, it completely debunks the headline if you read the article. So they don't have to, so they don't have to pull the article down. They don't have to correct it. They don't have all that stuff. but the headline is the lie. The article tries to tell the truth, at least in some way, but people don't ever read far enough.
If you read down far enough, it usually, like you said,
Yes.
lets the cat out of the bag.
Yes.
But getting down there is kind of a travail, so to speak.
That's right. That's
Well,
right.
and then-
Apparently, we've got a newbie up. We got a new folk up. Hey, what's up? The second.
He
that?
follows us
Who's
all
that?
over the
Second
place,
Amendment.
but I don't think I've ever
Oh, there
seen
he
him.
is.
Yep.
What's up, man? How are you?
How we doing? Okay,
Good.
so I want to address this Smith Month Act thing. It's actually bullshit. The Fairness Doctrine of 1987 actually was the real reason that we have the craziness that we had. And then the Blackjack, I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He's a pretty well popular guy.
Yeah, we know.
On here. And the Smith Month Act was what it was and what it wasn't. The original Smith Month Act of 1948 let U.S. governments create and broadcast information abroad, Voice of America, Radio Free Europe, et cetera, to counter Soviet propaganda during the Cold War. Explicitly banned those governments produced materials from being disseminated against the United States of America, so it wouldn't be subjected to the domestic propaganda by their own government. The 2012 Smith Modernization Act was signed by Obama as part of the NDAA, which that's another animal all by itself. So it simply removed the domestic ban. Now those same government-funded programs like Voice of America can be made available to Americans if they request it, and they did not. Private citizen, this applies to private news companies, CNN, Fox, NBC, whatever. It gives anyone permission to lie, removing all the penalties for media misinformation. The real change was the FCC changed and repealed the Fairness Doctrine in 1987. This covers controversial issues of public importance. Do so in a way that is honest and equitable and balanced. It gives the other side airtime. The FCC itself repealed in 1987 under Ronald Reagan, saying the rule actually chilled free speech and was no longer needed. And the explosion of cable, the cable television, I'm assuming that's really what that, talk radio and other outlets. Congress tried to run it into law, and Reagan vetoed it, I guess.
Yep.
Stations no longer had to present opposing views at that time. Was widely credited as paving the way for a highly partisan talk radio, wrestling bar, etc. So, everybody wants to talk about the Smith Month Act, and that was actually just a small portion of it. But back in earlier times, it actually really how it happened this way.
Did y'all see that NPR one? They're going to continue being funded. Did I hear that right or read that right?
I don't know about that, but I'm sure that there will be appeal, and there's probably some activist or a federal district court judge who ruled on that. Is my guess.
That's what I thought I saw, that they have to remain being paid something to the tune of like $230 million, which sounds like a lot of money, maybe not in the grand scheme of like funding, the media, but still a lot of money. The idea that our tax dollars fund something like that just makes me want to puke.
Yeah,
Hey, Bob, real quick. We're at about the 2 hour mark. We're starting to see a couple folks over on the live stream drop off. Do you want to wrap up the show on the live stream, and then I don't know if you want to keep this going, but I'm probably going to bounce here shortly in a couple minutes.
Yeah,
I'm SK. I think that next time we do this, we need to do a bit of a sneak attack, and instead of announce that you're going to be on the show and scare everybody off, we need to have you just slide in and do your thing, because I don't think I saw a single opposition.
It's because
at
we
all.
got a full panel, I think. People won't
maybe.
request when there's a full panel.
I haven't seen any opposition in the chat either. Really?
But I do think we should wrap up the live stream, and if you guys want to keep going, then keep it going for sure. But I think we should wrap up the live stream.
You mean the podcast?
Yep.
All right, so let's do that. I don't know if we're gonna have a cool exit unless we do want to play our exit song. I don't have much left in me either. I
Play our exit song, and then we can start again. We can
start this live again?
Yeah, why don't you guys?
No, we
why
don't have
you
to
do this?
start.
Why don't-
Oh yeah, you have to end it, don't you?
Well, let's wrap it up, and then why don't you, SK? Why don't you see? Because your platform will pull in a lot more crazy people. So why don't you open your live up if you want to?
I don't think it will. I haven't been live in like since last year.
We can go find one. I can open a live, whatever. We can sort it out. But I think we're going to wrap for the night, folks. That's 2 hours on the show. This, unfortunately, we didn't get any libs. We advertised the crap out of this, and not a single one of the black-pilled FAGAers out there, none of them wanted to come and argue the merits of the nonsense they've been pushing for the last 7-8 weeks or 7 months. None of them did. I think maybe they're licking their wounds and they're going to figure out how to regroup and save face, though they can't, because you sold your souls and you bet against President Trump and you lost.
You got on the wrong horse, man.
So,
Mike Tyson knocked out for sure.
No, I've been getting crazies, and I have a whole bunch of them that follow me. So when you guys are going to do this for a debate, I'm more than happy to just be in the chat and send out invitations to those
You should
people.
go live. You should go live.
I can't go live right now, but I will. I mean, unless you want me to, I will for you, and we can start sending it
Well,
out.
you can't. I mean, I get you got. I mean, you're a lot going on in your hand and all that. So if you can't, that's fine. But she's right. She's not wrong.
Yeah.
I can get them up in the panel next time for you if you want. If you're really wanting to debate.
Yes, let's do that. We need to partner with people that know how to bring crazies in.
All
Yeah,
right.
I get the crazies.
All right. We're gonna
Usually
work.
that's not a problem.
We're gonna work our way out of here. We're gonna end the podcast. We're probably gonna end the live stream. Maybe SK, you and I may go find some people to debate with. We'll see. But I have to get up early. I've got a fence to install tomorrow.
You guys have a
I've got-
good night. Thanks for the privilege.
All right, here we
Hanging
go.
out with
My
you.
wife
having
has,
me
my
We are-
wife
we
has
are on
family
our way
pictures
out.
scheduled for us tomorrow.
In the
Why
shadows
is it so small?
of the
Because my
Capitol,
system's too
they're
freaking slow.
scheming in the night, selling out our freedoms for a pocket full of spite. From the border to the heartland, the wolves
This is
are
painful.
at the door, twisting truth and tearing down what our fathers fought before. But I'm a patriot soldier, standing tall and true, with a Bible in my hand and old glory flying blue. Ain't apologizing for loving this land. We'll fight the forces of evil with fire in our stand. God bless the USA. We'll never back down. Patriots for freedom,